Welcome to another edition of Small's Theatre. Tonight I read a short story entitled Santa's Yggdrasil Ornament. 'Twas an eve like none other, of the Yuletide variety. Children teemed to discover, adults lived with anxiety. But not all things in this silent night will go quietly. Yes, some slumber with lullabies, gifts and sweet delights, while some cling to their piety and their worship of Christ. Some don't have much to cling to, but a little food would be nice. One such boy growing up by the name Timothy lived down the end of Elm Street on the right, and Timothy's family has continually struggled to fulfill basic needs. So while some sat to share lavishness of turkey and pies, the two words on this family's Christmas wish list read, "Don't die." His parents argued more this time of year than any other, but deep down Timothy knew Pa would always love his mother. Two parents, one sister, and a little brother. They were poorer than dirt, but at least they had each other. But annual bereavements breed bitter resolutions. Timothy became blinded to what just might behoove him. Whereas a young Timothy looked more for his parents' support, and adolescent Timothy, call him Tim for short, withdrew more completely from his meager existence, and after dusk became transfixed by red and white lights in the distance. They had a woeful tinsel tree and a solitary candle. Not a thing hung with care, there wasn't chimney or mantle. This Xmas Eve, Tim thought enough is enough. I'll start worshipping Santa because Santa brings stuff. They all shared a loft with a single window. Through their iridescent billows, they would watch the stars hang in limbo. 3 stars in alignment had gained his interests. These breached the horizon once autumn's sun sets. These he pondered as Pa sauntered nearer, prepared to dispense a modicum of holiday cheer. Through yarns and platitudes and quips about gratitude, such wisdoms befell youth's deaf ears. Pa's voice was a whisper, just barely a peep, laying beside Mum and sister, now frozen in sleep. Timothy craved food and gifts, not unsolicited lessons. Pa concluded, "I pray that you ask the right questions, and if your heart is true, son, so will be your directions. Now here, my boy, know I've been saving for months." Pa's face was a mask of sorrow and shame. "That's 2 days' worth of food, don't eat it all at once." And he presented Tim with a wholly intact candy cane. Then Pa walked round to Mother's side of the mattress, and that 4 feet between them seemed unbridgeable vastness. "Silly father," thought Tim, "the fool's got it all flipped. Why, if he'd search for the answers, he'd be better equipped." Tim lay awake with visions, not of sugar plums, but of answers, listening for the pitter-pat of hooves and antlers, or "Now Dasher, now Dancers," any remedy for his prayers. That lone candlelight flickered dimly. Timothy recollects their home hasn't a chimney. Those heating ducts strewn about would require St. Nick to stretch thinly. Paying for heat was another amenity from which they abstained. Got through winter on 1 tank of propane. Tim grasped that sugary cane and prayed with all his might for some reprieve from his chronic, stomach-gnawing case of unremitting needs. He slowly began to drift to sleep, mind worn and body haggard, when out near the propane heater there arose such a clatter. Tim sprang from his bed so he could ascertain the hazard. It clinked and sparked and spat red flame. It shimmied and it leapt, and much to his wondering eyes it appeared his family still slept. The heater issued thick white smoke, the grill blazed without pause. After a final metallic croak, out popped a Santa Claus. He flailed and pulled on his scorched beard. He patted his smoldering threads. Head to toe, he seemed quite seared. Ho, ho, holy shit, he said. I've had my eye on you, young man, for quite a many years. I've seen your pain, devised a plan, one to assuage all your fears. I have a special place back home, one where you'll never lack. Why stay where you would feel alone? Won't you jump inside my sack? But Tim, he was no fool, you see, although Santa's size did astound. Standing approximately 6'6" and nearly as big around. But Timothy's hood instincts weren't put off by Saint Nick's size. It was something baleful in his hijinks, a glacial murk behind his eyes. There was not a single twinkle, as one might come to expect. The dubiousness of this Kringle made Tim feel rather suspect. Embers framed his smoldering beard was yet to cease. Embers framed around his jaw, a slight pivot of his right face to hide something Tim saw. The candle flick gave a quick hint, a moment for Tim to assess. He surely saw a metallic glint, angular steel where should be flesh. Tim's dread enhanced the smirk of Claus, and he took a few steps back. But with a jolly twirl in one fell swoop, Santa stuffed him in his sack. This may be a bit uncomfortable, kid. Timothy heard Mecha Claus chortle, and with a touch of his nose through the heater he dove, whisked away by his brimstone portal. Off faster than one could think, Tim left his stomach behind. It all lasted but a blink, though. Then his Vile came up to say hi. Santa's jingle-belling boots tinkled over hydraulic whirring steps. A rusty creak, and Tim hit the ground with no touch of tenderness. A writhe young Tim scrambled up in the darkness to extricate himself from this musty magic bag in which there seemed no means to escape. A pinprick of light, and Tim was lifted up and out to face his foe. Why would you be so malicious? Tim was all out of fucks, but he needed to know. Charred and blackened walls, bars of ashen soot comprised this cage. Santa barked, "Boy, take a look around. The Christmas you know has changed." Tim glanced in every direction, and as far as he could see, countless captive children were strapped into machines. Before each lay a platter, candy, toys, ornaments, just out of reach for all to see the neighborhood's torments. Each kid was punctured with 3 tubes, 2 green and 1 was black. The former came out from their necks, the latter pierced their backs. Vile laughter and Santa's cinder beard combusted with every breath. The skin began to peel and melt, at least all that was left. His eyes full of void, his smile how scary. This nightmarish android made a fearsome adversary. This is the true form of Christmas, mechanical viciousness. I'm a testament to the human condition. Materialistic, I'm the spirit of consumerism. I inspire feeding frenzy. People trap with best friends in efforts to make amends with me. Jesus was never the reason for the season, so reserve your benedictions. I'm the king of cheery crime rings. Give in to your corporeal afflictions. I'll infect every child's yearning heart. I'll weave greed into every home and hearth. I took Christ back out of Christmas, and I didn't ask forgiveness. And I feast on the hopes of impoverished children for breakfast. And the flames rose. All of these indigents before us chose, was his coarse robotic utterance. To come be hooked into my feeding hose and provide an adequate liquid Xmas sustenance. While the elves slave non-stop in my irradiated workshops, this mecha claus slurps Xmas sauce from black straws. As my machines persistently pump it out broke backs, my global kingdom consisting of smokestacks bellows blackness into the sky in ever-encroaching vastness. And the flames rose higher. You find this all tragic, little guy? Well, you're barely on the verge. And when I suck this whole world dry, every child will live like you or worse. Santa scooched to some straps and said, "This one is nice. Come, rest in this chair. I need to grab one last device. Please just wait right there." As Santroid scurried out the room, he gave a long backwards glance, then disappeared into the gloom, leaving Timothy in a trance. But it wasn't his own impending doom, or the warm streaks within his pants. No, Tim was caught in an extrasensory correspondence by chance. The sound of serifs sobbing through static left him briefly spellbound. Tim stared at the corner ahead, and his legs like jelly he fell down. A glimpse of his favored white and red was mycelial network fruiting through the ground. Tim, Tim, come near. A voice like bees whizzing through the air. What? Who? Where? Right here. Come closer, I dare ya. Who are you? You can call us Amanita Muscaria. We are the mother of messengers, merrymaking and myths. We positively predate all of the patriarchy's tricks. You want to exist past this instant? You better get to unwrapping your gifts then, and put us on the other side of your lips. Tim had no real choice, so he took a timid bite of this telepathic shroom colored red and white. 10,000 visions erupted that were once locked within Timothy's spine. His awareness was abruptly spread across the scope of space and time. His body stretched unthinkable lengths, stars below and earth above. Primordial stillness bestowed great strength, his sense of family, great love. It's not too late to save Christmas, child, but you must be sly and slick. Tim flexed his swollen guns and smiled. I'll squash this fraudulent Saint Nick. I'll liberate all the orphans. He gave the fungus a final lick. Then I'll locate every chimney and smokestack and dismantle them brick by brick. When Mecha Claus emerged from shadow, young Timothy stood defiant. This was their first and final battle, akin to David and Goliath. Mushrooms in his left hand and candy cane in his right, Tim became the embodiment of all good things, red and white. You have one moment left to choose. Live in my machines or die. Without a word and off like a bird, flew the candy cane to Santroid's eye. It happened so fast, shattered glass. As the shot struck true, the robot recoiled and outward boiled copious putrefied goo. Tim seized the moment and moved to mash magic mushrooms in that mechanical mouth. And then he felt the foundation shake of reality itself. Dungeon disappeared, replaced by colossal roots churning. As the whole world turned upside down, arose a massive planet-spanning tree with burning crown. Mecha Claus hung by 1 foot, arms flung open wide, endless oceans of inky ooze expunging from his eye. Tim heard the sound of souls returning as Santa deflated like a balloon, and that glorious silver behemoth held aloft unnatural moons.